If you're a business owner and you're over the age of 40, then you know how difficult it is to grow your business, to attract your ideal clients, and to build your brand. But what if I told you that there's 3 skills that you probably already have that are gonna help you to attract your ideal clients and build your brand? And if you wait till the end, I got something special for you. Let's go. If you're an entrepreneur or a side hustler, you know it's difficult to grow your business. You're competing against people who maybe have bigger brands than you, who might have been around longer than you, or who just popped up and now they're making all of these wild claims that they can do everything to help people solve a big problem or with a need or a want. How do you stand out in your industry when it may seem crowded, or when you're not even clear about how you differ from other people? Well, I didn't realize this. I struggled in my business for so long. I was constantly chasing clients. I was, doing all the right things, running ads, posting 7 to 10 times a day on social media. I had an email list and I was emailing them 3 or 4 times a week. And it just felt like I was on this hamster wheel, right? Like I just felt like I was running and running and running and adding so much value and giving so much, but it just wasn't coming back to me. I just got discouraged, and there's been so many times that I just felt like quitting. I thought, why am I out here trying to help entrepreneurs and business owners take their businesses to another level? Why am I trying to help people build their brands? Why? Why? Nobody's hearing me. Nobody's seeing me. Nobody's responding. No one's buying my stuff at the level that I really wanted them to. And so I had to ask myself some really hard questions. What is it about me or my message or the way I'm communicating that's just not really resonating with people? And I had to go and I hired a coach, and I got my coach to kind of help me figure out what was really going wrong in my business. My coach asked me to identify, like, what are some of the skills that you have, some of the things that come naturally to you that may not come naturally to someone else. And I couldn't think of any. I was really struggling. And then my coach asked me another really powerful question. He said, what is some of the very positive feedback that you received from some of your former managers that they realized were, skills and attributes and traits that you really excelled in? And so out of that, I identified 3 skills that I have that really come naturally. And those 3 skills helped me to build my career. They helped me to build my business when I left the corporate world, to get on stages and national television and radio and start attracting my ideal clients, standing on stages, speaking to thousands of people. And I realized these 3 skills changed everything for me. And they might just change everything for you. So the first skill that I identified was I would ask a lot of very thoughtful questions to help people think about themselves, their career, what they wanted, or to figure out a way to push through a specific challenge. I would just listen and ask questions. Listen and ask more questions. And eventually what would happen is it would take people down this path of realizing that maybe they had more skills or more attributes or more knowledge than they thought, that they could figure out a way to move through a difficult situation or a challenge. I realized that helping people to think through what is really going on, to identify what is the real challenge or the real problem, it's a very unique skill that we can all develop. So when I started applying that in my business, I stopped assuming that I knew what people's problems were. I stopped assuming that, business owners and entrepreneurs had this problem, and this problem. And I started asking questions. When it comes to growing your business, what is the biggest challenge that you have? What are some of the things that you tried before that worked? What are some of the things you tried before that didn't work? And guess what happened? They started telling me. And I started taking that information and then figuring out how I could provide a solution for that big challenge that people were having. I asked them, they responded, and I listened. And that's really powerful because people want to be listened to. People want to feel heard. They want to feel seen. And so when you're asking people a question, your ideal customers or your potential customers, and when you're asking them, and then you respond and you let them know that, look, I heard what you're saying. Here's what I'm hearing you say. Here's where you're stuck. Here's where your big problem is. Here's how we can make our products and services better. And you respond, now they're leaning into you. They're like, oh, wow, you actually listened. And if you're in your 30s or your 40s, you're also bringing that knowledge. You're bringing that experience, life experience, work experience, business experience. And you can move into this solution mode. People out there right now are feeling lost. They're feeling unheard. Well, start with asking powerful questions to your audience, your followers, your potential customers, the customers that you already have. And then let them know that you're hearing them and you're working on providing them a better product, a better service, and see where that takes you. The second skill that I didn't know that I had, I'm really good at making complex things very simple. What would happen is we would be in these team meetings or these project meetings, and people would overcomplicate things. And I would just be listening to all of this confusion. And then everybody would be in these meetings and we would all be lost. We're like, well, what are you saying? And how do we do that? And doing that creates another problem. And so I like things very simple. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm a university dropout. I just like things very simple. So I would, leave those meetings and I would take down what I heard, and it would be like 12 or 13 steps, and I would simplify it to 3. And people would come back and they'd be like, yeah, that's it. You got it, Danny. And so I started applying that to my business. Life is complicated. People have a lot of thinking to do, right? Think about yourself. How many decisions do you have to make in a day? And so, yes, maybe you have a big problem, or maybe you have a need or a want. But if it's complicated, it's a complicated message that you can't understand because people are using all this jargon that you just don't get, or maybe there's just a lot of, big words, or there's a lot of complication to it. It's making you work too hard to understand how it works. Is this the product I want? Is this the service I want? How is this supposed to make me feel? And if you have to work too much for it, then you're likely just not going to buy it. So you have to learn to simplify your message. What do you help people do? What do you do? Who's it for? And how do you do it? And I think for a lot of us, we're so close to what it is that we do in our lives. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you're so close to your products and your services, or your business is your baby. You start getting into all of the features, and this is why you need to buy this coaching, or this is why you need to buy this product. And people don't even care about that. All they want to know is, can you solve their problem, or can you help them with something that they really want in the simplest way possible? Does that sound like something you can do with your clients or your customers or your potential clients and customers? Can you learn to simplify complicated things for them? Simplify their problem, simplify your messaging, simplify your processes, make it easier for them to buy from you. All of these things are going to make it easy for people to access what you have, and more likely to buy if it's more complicated. The third skill was communication. See, I never thought that I was a great communicator. I wasn't the most articulate person. I don't think I'm the smartest person. And so I would get in rooms with people who had all of these degrees or PhDs or these accolades, or, had made millions and millions of dollars. And I would be afraid because I didn't think that I deserved to be in that room. And because I wasn't a great communicator, I would just shy into my shell. I wouldn't say anything. I was afraid to contribute to conversations. And what I realized is that applying great listening skills, applying what I learned in my life and what I was learning, and being open and vulnerable, I started to attract people's attention. Multimillionaires would come, I'd be in meetings with them and they would be more interested in me than, usually people were in them. What is it like to be a coach or an author? And we would just get into these conversations. All of a sudden, they'd be interested in what I was saying. What I realized is one of the biggest blockers that were holding me back in my life was communication. And it wasn't even communication. It was the fact that I thought that I wasn't a great communicator. And It was really putting time into reading more, and to getting my messages out there more on social media, to putting out more videos, that I started to become more comfortable speaking to people. And that translated into me landing jobs that on paper I wasn't qualified for. It turned into me ending up speaking on stages to thousands of people and landing mainstream media. I'm just some kid who grew up in low-income housing, who was surrounded by drugs and crime, and found myself on national television and radio. And when you continue to put out messages consistently, whether it's your email list, your social media, whether you choose to go live on video or put out a YouTube video, or you read more, or you have more one-on-one conversations with people, your communication will begin to feel more comfortable and more natural, and you'll find ways to connect with people. For me, the number one skill is communication. It doesn't matter what you put in a sales funnel, what you put in an email, if you don't learn to communicate in a way where people feel heard, there's an emotional connection, then you're never going to grow your business. You're never going to have the type of life that you want. You're never going to build meaningful relationships. And so it requires some vulnerability. It requires you to be open and honest. It requires you to listen and respond to what you're hearing or not hearing. That's powerful communication. Do you know how powerful that is? When you put a message out to someone and they respond like, "You just touched my heart." They have an emotional connection with it. You get them thinking about something. You get them doing something different. But you have to put those messages out there. So maybe you're thinking you're not a great communicator. Maybe you think, I'm not really good at writing. I'm not good at video. I'm not a great speaker. Find one thing that you're the most comfortable with. Is it writing? Is it video? Is it going live? Find something that you're the most comfortable with and decide that you're going to put those messages out into the world consistently, especially if you're a business owner. Think about the business that you're in and make a decision that you're going to put out consistent messages about what it is that you do. Not in a salesy way, just giving people valuable information. What are some of the top tips that people need to know? What are some of the biggest challenges that people have? What are some of the things that you did along your journey to get where you are? Share valuable information with people, but do it in a clear, consistent way. And what you'll notice is that they'll start responding because you're building up a relationship with those individuals. And once you start to make that emotional connection, they can't wait to buy from you. Now, here's the best part. I wasn't born with any of these skills. These are skills that I developed over time. And you can do the same. You can develop these skills. So which of these 3 skills will make the biggest impact on your business? Let me know in the comments. And if you're ready to go deeper, click the link in my description. And if you love this video, check out this one right here.